Hello and thank you for joining us on the news on NTA International. I am Lami Ali. Let's take the headlines. Gradual return of peace to Borno State. Federal government promises total elimination of Boko Haram. Federal government's committed to yearning of youth and other vulnerable groups in the country. Plus, World Trade Organization, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala's way to success heightens as African Union drums support. Many thanks for joining us. President Muhammadu Buhari has described as welcoming the gradual return of peace in Borno State and promised more decisive and proactive measures towards the total elimination of the Boko Haram menace in the northeast. The president stated this during strategic engagements with Governor Babagana Zulum of Borno State on the prevailing security situation in the Home of Peace. State House correspondent Adam Sombo reports that Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State also came calling.
Governor Babagana Umara Zulum is here to bring President Muhammadu Buhari up to speed on issues relating to peace, security, stability, and socio-economic development in Borno State.
I'm glad to inform Nigerians that there is gradual return of peace to the northeast sub-region, and in particular Borno State. We have received tremendous support from the Nigerian military, from the paramilitary, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, and its agencies, especially NEMA, Northeast Development Commission, among others. Government has started the resettlement of people to their ancestral homes. The most important thing is that how can we engage them on return? The federal government has been supporting the government of Borno State, and we remain eternally grateful when you compare and contrast the situation before and now.
Over 100,000 internally displaced people, he explained, have been resettled. And the highly elated President Buhari promised to support the genuine efforts by the governor at providing leadership for sustainable peace and prosperity in the state.
The president was happy. He has given his commitment that he should support the entire Northeast sub-region, and in particular the government of Borno State, in ensuring permanent peace to reign in the region. We must commend his effort.
Newsmen sought to know from Governor Zulum the secrets behind the seeming insulation of Borno State from the recent EndSARS protest and the wanton destruction and looting of both public and private property in parts of the country.
The issue of transparency is very important. The issue of good governance is very important. Borno State received its palliative as early as possible, and I did everything possible. Within 2 weeks of receiving the palliatives, we have distributed all the palliatives to the deserving ones.
Governor Babagana Zulum used the opportunity to, amongst others, condemn police brutality, the alleged shooting at Lekki Toll Plaza, killing of the law enforcement agents, and the excesses of some Nigerian youth who participated in looting and destruction of property in the aftermath of the EndSARS protests. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State was also granted audience by President Muhammadu Buhari. During the visit, the governor presented documentary evidence on the level of destruction suffered by the Center of Excellence following the hijack of the recent EndSARS protest by hoodlums. Governor Sanwo-Olu did not speak to journalists after his engagement with the president. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Now, key objectives of the African Continental Free Trade Area is to achieve a single market for goods, services and free movement of persons, contribute to progressive liberalization of goods and promote industrial development, for Parliament to effectively perform its representational oversight and legislative duties. Parliamentarians of ECOWAS insist on inclusion as the point of decision-making for the different stages of progress on the AfCFTA. Onengie Fine-Face reports.
As elected representatives of the people of the West African region, Members of the ECOWAS Parliament are determined to support governments of member states to ratify results of negotiations in the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Parliament is also to check the balance of power of the executive, develop benchmark for measuring results, and ensure that objectives of the African Continental Free Trade Area are not in conflict with domestic legislations and trade policies of member states.
And it is critical that all countries within our customs union ratify in order to maintain the integrity of the ECOWAS customs union before the start of trading of the AfCFTA by the 1st of January 2021.
A situation where briefs and reports are sent to Parliament midway into implementation of decisions by the ECOWAS Commission, parliamentarians say is antithetical to the synergy needed for progress.
We don't want to be a rubber stamp parliament. You don't even understand the hazards, the challenges. So we need to know all those challenges so that if we go to our various communities, if we go to our various countries, we will be able to defend or to say this is good or this is not good.
The private sector is very key, but I realize that there's an issue with access to funding. And they have good business plans, they have negotiation skills, but access to funding is a very major issue. Foreign companies come in African countries and raise the money from our banks, they invest, and then they employ us.
African Continental Free Trade Area seeks to combine the economies of 55 African countries under a Pan-African trade area comprising 1.2 billion people in a market with a combined GDP of $3.4 trillion. In Cotonou, Benin Republic, Onengiye Fineface, NTA News.
And with barely 3 months to the commencement of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area agreements, issues of Nigeria's readiness is gradually being put to rest with continuous efforts by the federal government to bring all its agencies on board and ensure a unified approach to the continental bloc. Chimobi Walton Naji tells us more.
To take off on the 1st of January 2021, the African Continental Free Trade Area is expected to deepen trade and integration among African countries to tap into the over $1.5 billion consumer size and the $300 billion combined GDP of the continent. Working on its readiness to key into the opportunity, the Nigerian government, through the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, is putting finishing touches on its approach through a 2-day training for officers in the ministry to build capacity of its staff in responding to issues that will arise through the implementation of the AfCFTA.
Our neighbors are currently attracting investors with the promise that they can produce in their countries and sell into Nigeria. They are offering diverse kinds of incentives to make that happen. So, to prevent Nigeria from becoming the dumping ground for goods produced in sister African states, as well as goods produced outside Africa, but passing through our sister African states, we have to be very deliberate and very strategic in our engagement at AfCFTA.
This is expected to be followed by the identification of possible limitations Nigeria could face in her engagement efforts, which will include lack of strong capital base for foreign investment and trade.
The training on effective management and competency-based leadership towards Nigeria's engagement in the AfCFTA is one of the various efforts made by the Nigerian government to ensure Nigeria's participation in the AfCFTA is one that will increase Nigeria's industrial growth. In Abuja, Chimobi Walter Naji, NTA News.
To election matters now. So much lessons from the 2019 general elections, and if fully taken into consideration, will redefine the electoral process in Nigeria going forward. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu stated this while presenting 2 reports on the 2019 general elections in Abuja. Mia Ogidi reports.
The 2019 general elections are over, but the post-mortem meeting is still on. Friday, 6th of November 2020, the final reports are out and the time is 11 a.m. for submission. The INEC chair is in a hurry to meet up.
Thank you.
He made it, holding the two reports. First is the report of the 2019 general elections, 13 chapters, 384 pages, and INEC account, while the second is review of the 2019 general elections, stakeholders account. The two reports found a common ground on 5 key issues: proposing a national dialogue on INEC, amendment to strengthen electoral legal framework, cost of elections, deployment of security personnel, and deepening the use of technology.
It contains 180 recommendations that either require administrative action by the Commission or amendments to strengthen the existing electoral legal framework by the National Assembly. Some of the recommendations that require administrative action by INEC are already being implemented, resulting in improved management of the electoral process, as seen in the recent off-cycle governorship elections in Edo and Ondo states.
It is the presentation of the 2019 election report. That is for some, but for Amina Zakari, Antonia Sibini, Baba Shetima, Mohamed Leki, and Solomon Soebi, it is their final engagement as INEC National Commissioners, because their tenure ends on the 9th of November 2020, that is on Monday. Mayor Ogede, NTA News.
Joe Biden overtakes Trump in Pennsylvania, and the edge there comes after Democratic nominee leapfrogged Trump in Georgia, bringing him closer to 270 electoral votes needed to win the presidency, just as police are investigating alleged plots to attack Pennsylvania Convention Center. Details with Justin Bemuyi.
Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden gained more ground on President Donald Trump in the battleground states of Georgia and Pennsylvania on Friday, urging closer to the White House hours after Trump falsely claimed the election was being stolen from him. Biden is inching towards securing the 270 votes needed to win the state-by-state electoral college in 4 undecided swing states.
Democracy is sometimes messy. It sometimes requires a little patience as well. But that patience has been rewarded now for more than 240 years with a system of governance that's been the envy of the world.
Meanwhile, President Donald Trump's campaign is intensifying legal actions to challenge the integrity of the ballot counting process in several battleground states. The president says the U.S. presidential election has been rigged in favor of Democrat candidate Joe Biden. Trump, who addressed the nation from the White House, cried out he is being deprived of victory by fraud perpetrated by the Democrats through mail-in votes. He alleges that if the legal votes are counted, he would be the winner of the presidential race. The president says he is advocating a halt in counting of votes that came in late and went on to tout races that had already been called for him.
If you count the legal votes, I easily win. If you count the illegal votes, they can try to steal the election from us. If you count the votes that came in late, we're looking at them very strongly, but a lot of votes came in late.
In the meantime, police in Philadelphia are reportedly investigating an alleged plot to attack the city's Pennsylvania Convention Center, where votes are being counted for the U.S. presidential election. Justin Bemunyi, NTA News.
Trade matters now. Despite the stiff opposition from the United States, the African Union has reiterated its full support for Nigeria's candidate Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala for the position of Director General of the World Trade Organization. President of the Republic of South Africa and Chairperson of the AU, Cyril Ramaphosa, who made the latest position known in a statement, commended the WTO member states for following an agreed, fair, robust and transparent process in the election of the next Director General of the WTO. He expressed confidence and trust that the organization would follow due process to ensure that Dr. Okonjo-Iweala emerges WTO DG. AU also urged the organization to honor its own rules and procedure, especially at this time its credibility is being tested. You're watching the news on NTA International. More reports after the break. Do stay tuned.
Demands of #EndSARS movement. Immediate release of all arrested protesters. Justice for all deceased victims of police brutality and appropriate compensation for their families. Setting up an independent body to oversee the investigation and prosecution of all reports of police misconduct within 10 days. In line with the new Police Act, psychological evaluation and retraining to be confirmed by an independent body of all disbanded SARS officers before they can be redeployed. Increase police salary so that they are adequately compensated for protecting the lives and property of citizens. Federal government's response. On 11th October 2020, the Inspector General of Police dissolved the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS, across the 36 states police commands and the Federal Capital Territory. On October 12th, President Muhammadu Buhari addressed the nation, stating, "The disbanding of SARS is only the first step in our commitment to extensive police reforms." On 13th October 2020, the Inspector General of Police ordered all defunct SARS personnel to report at Force Headquarters, Abuja, for debriefing as well as psychological and medical examination. On 13th October 2020, the Presidential Panel on the Reform of SARS accepted the 5-point demand of the #EndSARS protesters. On 15th October 2020, the National Economic Council, NEC, directed the immediate establishment of state-based judicial panels of inquiry across the country to receive and investigate complaints of police brutality, related extrajudicial killings with a view to delivering justice for all victims of the dissolved SARS and other police units. State governors should immediately establish state-based special security and human rights committees to be chaired by governors in their state and to supervise the newly formed police tactical units and all other security agencies located in the state. This will ensure the protection of citizens' human rights. Members will also include representatives of youth and civil society, as well as head of police tactical units in each of the states.
Latest entrant, latest technology. Welcome to Entel 4G LTE Advanced and experience super-fast internet access today. Visit entel.com.ng or any of our stores in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt to get started. Entel. Live more.
Welcome back. New concerns rise over coronavirus transmission between animals and humans, just as New Zealand's Arden is warning for second term after landslide win. Joyce Ometu has a global update.
World Health Organization is looking at biosecurity around mink farms in countries across the world to prevent further spillover events after Denmark ordered a national mink cull because of an outbreak of coronavirus infections in animals. Maria Van, the WHO's technical lead for COVID-19, said in Geneva that transmission of the virus between animals and humans was a concern. The United States has again recorded more cases in 24 hours than any country over the course of the pandemic, with 120,000 infections confirmed on Thursday and 1,200 COVID-19 patients reported dead. Globally, the world also suffered the highest total one-day death toll of the pandemic, with 11,447 people lost Thursday. It also recorded 700,000 new cases. Worldometer dashboard as at 6 p.m. Nigeria time reveals that case numbers has reached 49,335,468, out of which Africa has 1,857,027 cases recorded. In Nigeria, Of the 63,508 cases, 59,748 have been discharged, while the fatality figure stays at 1,155. In other news, Sudan has closed the border between its eastern Kassala state and Ethiopia, following rising tensions between Ethiopian federal authorities and the Tigray region. The announcement was made by Governor Fatih Al-Rahman Al-Amin, who said the border will remain closed until further notice. And New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern was sworn in for a second term on Friday. Ardern and her ministers, who were appointed earlier this week, took their oath of office during a ceremony at Wellington's Government House. The 20-member cabinet includes 8 women. And that's a global update. I am Joyce Ometu.
Barrio Old Boys Association hold its 2020 annual dinner and recognition award event on Saturday, 7th November 2020 at Mina Event Center, number 6, Lodge Road, GRA, Kano, at 4 p.m. A statement by the National President, Lahir Ibrahim, on behalf of the National Executive Committee says the Governor of Kano State, Abdullahi Umar Ganduji, will be the special guest of honor, while the Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Muhammad Saad Abubakar, will be the royal father of the day. The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Ibrahim Tanko Muhammad, has sworn in 8 new justices of the Supreme Court, bringing the number of justices of the court from 12 to 20 record. He asked the justices not to allow their personal considerations to becloud their sense of judgment. Judiciary correspondent Vera Chimuba, who witnessed the ceremony in Abuja, reports that it was filled with excitement.
Cut justices has been brought to 20. It is still short of the full complement of 21 as stipulated by Section 230, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution. The justices elevated from the Court of Appeal bench took time to take their oath of office and oath of allegiance to the Constitution. The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Ibrahim Tanko Muhammad, who described the event as historic and the dawn of a new era for the Apex Court, asked the justices to shun extraneous considerations while discharging their duties.
You must not, therefore, allow your personal ambition or any extraneous considerations to becloud your sense of judgment. Our moral uprightness, integrity, and respect for the Constitution and other acts and laws in operation must be unwavering.
The ceremony elicited some reactions.
But with what we have today, about 4 courts can be constituted, rather than 2 or 3 that we used to do in the past. Supreme Court, with dispensing with justice at Supreme Court level, so it's commendable.
State governors, relations, friends, and well-wishers witnessed the ceremony. The swearing in of 8 justices of the Apex Court is a cheering news in view of the increasing number of appeals that flood the court on a daily basis and for reducing the backlogs of appeals pending at the court. In Abuja, Vera Chimuba, NTA News.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has again assured Nigerians that the federal government is fully committed to meeting the yearnings and aspirations of youth and other vulnerable groups in the country. The minister stated this at a special town hall meeting with stakeholders in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital. Anthony Forson reports.
It was a gathering of who is who in Kwara State as they cut across party lines, business community, young and old, just as the royals equally added color to the occasion. In line with the agenda of the meeting, scholars, youths, women leaders, retirees, students, members of the Okada Riders Association all took turns to ask questions bordering on the state of the nation and government's plan for them. Responding, the Information and Culture Minister took time to reel out the federal government's response to the demands by the EndSARS movement, which include the dissolution of SARS as a first step towards an extensive police reforms and further training and orientation of officers.
The National Executive Council, presided over by the Vice President, and in which all governors are members, directed that every state should set up a panel of inquiry
on initiatives targeted at youths, women and vulnerable groups. Lai Mohammed said a number of schemes have been rolled out.
Even before the EndSARS protest, the federal government on its own had been addressing the concerns of youth, especially in the areas of job creation and poverty alleviation. The National Youth Fund, it's a 75 billion fund which is meant to give opportunities to our younger elements.
Others are Empower to cater for 500,000 beneficiaries who have already been engaged, and by next month, another 400,000 will be engaged as well. NTEC has trained 10,000 youths, and Agro on its part has over 10,000 beneficiaries too. Other schemes are Youth Fintech, Public Works, Digital Youth Nigeria, as well as Graduate Internship Support Program, among others. Kwara State Governor Abdulrazak Abdurrahman appealed to the youths to exercise restraints and avoid acts that are inimical to development and have the capacity to cause unrest that will lead to unnecessary destruction of lives and property. The Emir of Ilorin, Alhaji Ibrahim Sulu Gambari, appealed to the federal government to, as a matter of urgency, reconcile with ASU so that universities can reopen, while insecurity in the country, he lamented, must be checked. He equally commended the federal government to sustain its anti-corruption drive. In Ilorin, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
And that does it on the news at this time on NTA International. But remember to connect with NTA and stand against rape and rapists. I'm Lami Ali.